Hello, hello, my beloveds. This is Dr. Angelika Christie, your host of the show, Your Radiant Life After 45. It's a show for women who want more from life in every area of her life, in her health, in her relationships, in her spirituality, discovering herself as the unapologetic, amazing woman that she is. So, every Saturday at 3 o'clock, be here with me live. And I am so grateful that you are here with me today. While today is a little bit of a different thing that I want to discuss with you. I want to discuss the times that we live in. We live and the cycles in our world history and also the cycles in our personal life. You must agree that we live in a time that has repeated itself in history. Well, everything in the universe, in nature, has cycles, right? And history repeats itself in some way. And when you go back, you will see this, but I don't want to go into that part today. But I have been made aware of an amazing book by, well, the book is not by Tony Robbins, but Tony Robbins in an interview, but also in the event that I actually was part of or attended. He mentioned it, he talked about it. So I bought the book and I read it, and it's mind-blowing and it's eye-opening. The book is titled The Fourth Turning: What the Cycles of History Tell Us About America Next. And it's by William Strauss and Neil Howe. Howe and his co-author, William Strauss, actually wrote two extremely impactful books. One was called Generations, and that was published in 1991. And The Fourth Turning, that I will reference here today, was published in 1997. So Strauss and Howe's theory considers the four stages, the four cycles that repeats every kind of 80 to 100 years. And it's really approximately the length of human life, of our lifetime, right? And it's also referred as saeculum. And this book suggests four turnings in history. And the one is the high, the amazing period. And actually, I was born into that because after the Second World War, there was this high, this rebuilding, and this, of course, the United States. I was born in Germany, so it wasn't an immediate high, but in the United States, it definitely was. And then after that, the awakening in the 60s, the awakening, I remember that. And then the unraveling. And we are now actually, the unraveling is the third cycle and stage. And we are in the beginning of the fourth, which is culminating, the unraveling is culminating in a crisis. If you feel stressed, overwhelmed, or uncertain about all that's happening in the world today, consider that the cycle of crisis predictably includes massive economic, cultural, political, religious, military, and broad institutional disruptions. Yes? Just take a deep breath. Yes. The four turnings comprise history's seasonal cycles or rhythms of four stages. So as I said before, the four stages, they also can be seen as the first stage is growth. And this is so much in nature as well. The second stage is maturity. The third stage is entropy. And the fourth stage is destruction. So just imagine in nature a flower, right? Those are the stages that the flower or any plant goes through. That's the stage that we go through as well. Everything in the universe goes through those stages. What can be helpful to remember in the times that we live in right now that are so trying, so challenging, is that no storm lasts forever. And as the saying goes, this too shall pass. Yes, we are moving from that. This will not last forever into a better area unless we destroy ourselves. I don't hope that will happen. But Neil's insights and predictions on how much longer this fourth turning will last can actually be found in the book. So you may want to read the book. And it also can be found on YouTube. There are discussions and interviews on YouTube. I think Tony Robbins actually interviews the one, I think, of the authors about that. Additionally, one can consider 4 generational archetypes of people born in the same area and coming of age. And that's shaped by the same historical events. Strauss and Howe, I don't know if it's, I think Howe, used the 4 archetypes of generational cohorts: the prophet, the nomad, the hero, and the artist. Okay, the prophet, the nomad, the hero, and the artist. So millennials fall into the hero archetype, while the Gen Xers are nomads, and baby boomers, me, are prophets. Isn't that interesting? The generation born in or after 2005, those young people, they are artists. As each archetype and the generation of that archetype reaches the end of its, like, let's say, 80-year lifespan, then the cycle repeats. So when I think about myself, I'm in the mid-70s. So if I make it after 80 or so, I may move into the first stage again, which is all new and growth. If I make it in a healthy body, that could be a beautiful time. Or I transform into spirit. But anyway, the 4 turnings compromise history's seasonal rhythm of growth. So it's growth, maturity, entropy, and death, but it's rebirth, right? The 4th turning offers bold predictions about how all of us can individually and collectively prepare for our own, or America's, and whatever country you are in, the next rendezvous with history, right? Or with destiny. And we know that countries are not separate the way they used to be hundreds and thousands of years ago. We share the same or a similar future as a world civilization because we have all grown so close. Nobody is isolated anymore. We have our own cycles. And as women, we know this so well. We know our menstruation, that's a cycle, and other cycles that make us feel compelled to do or change something. I have witnessed it in others, in my clients. And of course, I know it in myself. In my own life, I recognize major changes or outstanding things that happened or that I achieved in cycles of 10 to 12 years. Yeah, every 10 to 12 years, there was something, or it brought something important or extraordinary into my life. A change had arrived, and I felt it. Something, or sometimes it was so compelling that it pushed me into some kind of change that lasted another 10 or 12 years. So it created that cycle. It pushed me into a new cycle, and I stayed in that cycle until a new cycle arrived. For example, when I was 10 years old, so, I mean, I cannot go with birth because I know nothing about that time. But I remember when I was 10, I urged my parents and I insisted that they would take me to a horseback riding stables or facility. Nobody in my family had interest in this. But for me, it was compelling. It was important. I developed a tremendous love for horses, which nobody in my family really could understand. So, of course, I did horseback riding for 10 years, and I became very, very good at it. I did a dressage, and almost every time I competed, I got first prize. So that was a very important cycle. But then the next cycle was when I was 20. When I was 20, I gave birth to my first child. A son from a father who was the only love in my life. And we thought we would be together forever and get married. But he did not have the backbone to go against his mother's wish. She did not like me. She came from a poor family, but married into money when she became the wife of a successful merchant, the father of the man that I fell in love with. And I came from a noble aristocratic family, and I was a beautiful young woman. So she convinced her son, my only love and the father of my child, that if he married me, I would leave him. Definitely would leave him sooner or later. In other words, she believed that the beautiful woman cannot be trusted. So after she said, well, she wanted to test me out, maybe I should stay with her and she could test me or so, I declined. And I also declined having this man that really let me down so much in my life any longer. So I gave birth to what is called an illegitimate child, which my father was horrified about, and promised to give me anything I wanted as long as I would either abort the child or give it away for adoption when I did not abort it. Well, I did neither. And my father and my firstborn son became heartstrings for each other, so very close later on in life. I mean, from when he was less than a child, than a year old, because then I went back home. So that was an episode in my life. And my next cycle was 12 years after that, at 32. I was uprooted in Germany. I uprooted myself in Germany and followed the man of my dreams, my love, to the Bahamas because he was a Bahamian man. And I married, even though I already had 3 children at that time. But something very powerful pushed me into this radical change. And I'm still married to the man I followed to the Bahamas, and we have 2 beautiful children that are now adults. So I have 5 children. When I left Germany to start a new life in my early 30s, that was my 3rd cycle. And my 4th cycle started at 40, when I had a desire to run a marathon. I mean, I was always a good runner, but, you know, at the end of 30, I became slower. I didn't run a 6 minute mile anymore, or 6.5 minute miles. So I looked at something that was a little more challenging, and I wanted to run a marathon. I ran and I finished the New York Marathon at age 40. And then again at age 42, where I finished the marathon, the distance over 26 miles in under 4 hours. And that cycle brought a very active athletic period with it. So there is another cycle at 50 and at 60, but I don't want to go through all of those cycles. But one I want to still mention is at age 70, I had a different kind of cycle. I was diagnosed with essential tremors. And my always robust health started to deteriorate in other ways as well. Then COVID came along, and I got very ill from COVID, and it triggered a mini stroke. And that was actually the third, because at 50 and 60, I had those. And 3 rounds of shingles. Yes, no fun. But you see, I am here now, not only recovered, but more determined than ever to bring into my next cycle, which is my 8th, which will be my 8th cycle, a very strong body, a sound mind, and make it a beautiful life that I am actually now preparing for and creating day by day, every day. The signs and the signals my body is showing me this 7th cycle are warning signs that it's time to fight for my body, to pay attention to my muscles, so that they don't atrophy, my energy and my endurance, so that I can still make a difference in the world, that I can still be with you and share with you from my experience and knowledge. Why? Because I feel compelled to do this for you, for my listeners, as much as for my own family, as an example that my children and grandchildren can follow. And here I want to just share something with you very quickly, because this year's gift to my clients and to the women 45 and over is a membership in a very comprehensive club where I cover what I call the Trinity of life. Your spirituality, which means also your self-realization and self-development. That is so unique to you, so that you understand and discover the unique and brilliant woman that you are. And give you everything you need to understand your physical body and the changes it goes through after 45. And your relationships, starting with the relationship you have with yourself. And then, of course, with others, like your partner, your spouse, your family, your children, your friends, your business friends or partners. So for a limited time, you can get to become a member of this subscription membership platform that I'm creating, that I'm building, that will give you a step-by-step success path to the outcome that you want. Okay, so I will share more about this with you next week. But let's just come back to the cycles of history and the cycles in your life. So I'm just repeating something here for clarity. According to history, and this outstanding book actually on the recurring cycles of history throughout time, we are right now in the 4th turning. And it's what you and I experience right now. It started around 2006, I think, the 4th turning. And you know what happened in 2008. And since then, it looks like the world has changed totally. Well, actually, the world changed at one particular event. And we all know that event, right? In 2001, 111. But we thought then that it would get better. But did it? Where we are today in our world history, it doesn't look like it. Do you feel safer? Do you have more hopes? Or more, are you more sure about the future? No. So we came from a high after the Second World War, kind of the awakening. I mean, after the Second World War, it was, number one, it was rebuilding, right? And number two was the awakening in the 60s, pushing for freedom. But the unraveling actually started in 2001. That then leads into the fourth that we are in now. So to repeat this, the first stage is a high. The second stage is an awakening. The third stage is an unraveling. And the fourth stage, that unraveling, is culminating in a crisis. If you're feeling stressed, overwhelmed, or uncertain about all that's happening in the world, consider that a cycle of crisis predictably includes massive economic, cultural, political, religious, military, and even broad institutional unraveling or disruptions. Do you recognize something here? Is that what is going on right now? What can be helpful to remember in these times is that no storm lasts forever. And like I said before, this too shall pass. I mentioned that earlier when we started with this. But how will it pass? Or what will we make from the chaos? Because after chaos, you can rebuild, right? And we always have a choice. I believe now is choice time. So the question is, will we destroy ourselves with strife and wars that will be catastrophic with today's weapons? Or can we bring in a new era of collaboration and peace? We must opt in for the latter, for the second. But we must fight for it. Do you see that this is the truth? Now, I want you to think about your own personal cycles. You may want to take out a piece of paper and divide it into some categories, even though we just have another 5 minutes here. And you can continue and do this later also. The categories may be your personal health throughout your decades. Where did something happen in your health? Maybe your personal events. When did something outstanding or unexpected take place there? Your relationship or relationships. What happened there? Your work, your hopes and aspirations in your work. And whatever category you come up with that reminds you of a special event in your life, write that down. For example, one curious thing about my life is that almost everything important happened in an even year. I was born in an even year, and all of my five children, as well as my wedding day, they're all even years, and most of my grandchildren are even years. None of it was planned, of course, but my life designed it that way for me. And the 2 marathons I ran were on even years also. So here you have some examples that could trigger a memory that for you to just write something down. And leave that paper open so that you can add to it. There may be so much more that comes to mind, and then after you're finished or have quite a bit written down, have a look and see if you notice cycles in your life, cycles that bring events or into your life, or that bring change, where you change. You might find it interesting. For me, I know that I am in the preparation for a new cycle now. So I hope that this was interesting for you. And I don't want to promote anything here, even though I believe that you find it hugely interesting to find this book. You can find it on the internet. You can find it on Amazon. You can, look it up, and of course YouTube. You can search for it as well. The Four Turnings, and then look at your own cycles. I mean, we women know that that nature gave us cycles with menstruation and with just different cycles in our life, how we age, what comes next. But becoming more aware of it and writing things down, and because we are changing within those cycles. And then, maybe you want to pay attention and prepare for the next cycle by envisioning how you want to experience it. And this is one of the reasons why I am creating this platform, this subscription membership, so we can help each other and go through that together, where I can give you insights, because I'm not a spring chicken anymore. If you are in 45 or just over, I am way ahead of you. So I am so eager to share my own, what I have not only experienced in my personal life, but also all of the things I have studied and learned. And I'm such an avid reader too. I'm always studying. So anyway, this has been such a joy for me to share this with you. A little bit different from how I usually have done things in the past. But I really would love for you, if you enjoyed this, to share it and to be here with me next time. And I really honor you. I honor the time that you have spent on this. And please make some comments. Let me know what you feel or think or discovered in your life's cycles. Okay? Thank you so much. This is it for today for me.